Hello and welcome to the Part-Time Gamers, the gaming podcast for people with full-time lives. I'm Cyranex, clocking in with my good friend, That One Weirdo.
April 1st, baby! Mario Brothers movie!
Yeah, I've been seeing some interesting news about Star Fox as well during that.
Yes.
Which will be interesting.
And we are a Glenn Powell forward house here.
Oh yeah.
My girlfriend is a huge fan, and you know, I kind of akin him to. It's almost like he came into Hollywood like the wrong time, because he reminds me of more of an old school type of movie star.
Yeah.
But I like a lot of the stuff he does. I just feel like he actually has like a condiment brand. It's actually pretty good. But I have to say, like, his name is Glenn Powell. And we always make a joke like, that's Glenergy. I'm like, why didn't he just make his own Red Bull and call it a Glenergy drink?
There's time. I'm sure there's time.
Yes. The opportunity is sitting pretty and wiggling in front of you, man.
I mean, yeah, I've been hearing a little bit of like random gaming news. It's like nothing for our show, but like there's like rumors of a new Star Fox game coming out, or being worked on at least, which would be, oh man, I love the classic Star Fox games.
Was one of those, not just games, but obviously franchises where, and it's crazy because they kind of, I mean, not lost their way. I mean, obviously Nintendo's not going to let it die as a whole. It's been in other games and featured elsewhere. But that used to be the game, because they never really went too far off the reservation with that one. So that literally used to be the game where if it was a Star Fox game, you were getting a Star Fox game and you had anticipation for a Star Fox game.
Yeah.
Waiting for that game was like, oh yeah, that mattered to like watch the clock.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I mean, like between like especially a lot of the older Nintendo consoles, it's like there were a couple games where they were system sellers, and Star Fox was one of them.
N64, game.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Still so good.
Yeah, you paused it and you were kind of like, they're doing this now?
Yeah.
Sega, that Alter Beast shit, you gotta cut it, baby.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and at the time it was like the right level of cheesy.
Yes.
But it's like still dramatic, but still like that great level of cheese to it and everything. Is like that.
Graphics were insane. Gameplay was bonkers.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Fox, of course, was a great name, but they could have just gone with animals in space.
Yeah.
And from the gameplay alone, we would have bought that shit.
Yeah. And it's like, and also I heard that there's, I don't know if it's, well, again, this is kind of hearsay. I read this on someone else's article or whatnot, or someone else's post, that there's like rumors of an Ocarina of Time remake being made as well in development, which that's going to be interesting. I mean, as long as they're faithful to the original, because the original Ocarina of Time is still widely considered to be one of the best games ever made, period.
Yes.
So that is, I'm hoping they stay faithful to it, but update it for newer consoles and stuff like that. But we'll see. And then,
well, it was just so executed at a level, like, I mean, we knew Zelda even then was like, yeah, the games are going to be bangers. They know what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
But then this shows up and it's like, oh, you were saving this, huh? And then you're like, dessert.
Yeah. And then like, I've also heard that from the Capcom front that like I've been playing through, I actually got through my first playthrough of Resident Evil 9. And I've already started a casual playthrough to try to get some more of the challenges and stuff and like unlock infinite ammo.
Yep, I'm making that noise for you.
But I heard on the Capcom front that there's supposedly a remake of Resident Evil 1 in development.
Yes.
Which they said should be more like kind of in the line with 2, 3, and 4 with those remakes, which if that's the case, I'm actually really looking forward to that. And after that comes out, I might actually start like going through the like some of the mainline uh, Resident Evil games, because Resident Evil 9 is the first Resident Evil game I've ever played.
Right.
I've seen the other ones, you know, I've seen
Well,
them
you
play.
finally came around.
Yeah, I know it took long enough. Uh, thanks,
Well, this was
thanks
kind of
my
a
hyper focus.
reemergence for a lot of people, like picking up where some characters were over years ago and kind of being reimmersed. And then, of
Yeah,
course, as you would expect, the graphics, especially in this one, are just off the chain.
yeah,
But like as a whole, Resident Evil, that was one of the biggest. That was one of the first biggest ones for me, where it was like, because I love Silent Hill,
yeah.
but their games were few and far between. But Resident Evil, we talked about this, and real quick, I'll reiterate. It was my first time I got scared in a video game. That
Yeah.
damn dog going through that window. And the best part about it is too is it literally applied Hitchcock's formula for suspense.
Yeah.
If a character is sitting somewhere and a bomb goes off, that's a surprise. If a character is sitting somewhere and the audience knows there's a bomb going to go off, they don't know, and you don't, like red timers and all these games or movies now,
Yeah.
they don't know, but you know what's happening. That suspense and that particular shot and that scene literally works to it, because when you come around that little corridor and it's this long shot and for a split second in your head you're like, something's gonna come out and get me in there.
Yeah.
They got a thing. One, they did. Two, freaking dogs.
Not just regular dogs, zombie dogs.
Zombie dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody was sitting in that office and they were literally like zombie dogs, and everybody else at the meeting went no, and he probably sat there, lit up a cigar, and went, "Hey, trust me." And for a lot of people, that was the first gut punch of the game. Going, oh, this isn't just like a side scroller where it's just, oh, there's this, and it all pops up.
Yeah.
You have to navigate, and the game in turn, and the surprises and scares will navigate with you.
Yeah.
That sets such a high benchmark. And keep in mind, not only are they still cranking them out, that first game and this whole franchise is still getting copied. It made the type of impact where you did it when the creator walks by the shelf and sees 3 copycat games and went, Yep, I did that. I didn't see any money for that, but I did that.
Yeah. Go figure. It's actually a pretty good series. And I'll admit, especially with 9, it's a very good balance, because I don't normally like scary games in general, but with Resident Evil 9 especially, it is a very good balance of suspense and breaking up with action, and I think that's actually really well done. I mean, it's a good grade. It's a good game, and I'm gonna play it some more.
Game of the year. Just hand out the trophy right now.
You're not wrong.
It'll be in the run.
Mean, granted,
even after.
Granted, I think the big reason why it's probably going to be Game of the Year is Slay the Spire 2 is not going to be full released before the end of the year. Right. So that's just me. Anyway, we got an article about that later. But also, since we're on the subject of zombies, we do have a game to talk about, so let's go ahead and get to work.
Morning break is over. Morning break is over.
So we're going to be finishing up our theme of Can I See Some ID for this month. And we're going to be finishing up with the game called Quarantine Zone: The Last Check. Technical, like if you look at the actual art and everything, most of the time, mostly you'll just see Quarantine Zone, but there actually is a colon after that of The Last Check. It is developed by, I'm going to choose to pronounce it, Brigada Games. I think that's accurate, close enough. And published by Devolver Digital. So that right there is a pretty big stamp of approval for this. I don't think there's a game that is published by Devolver Digital that is bad. Period. So that's a good sign. It's $19.99 on Xbox and Windows via Steam, and the Xbox app on PC. And it is also available on Game Pass, which is good too. PC and Ultimate, I believe. I need to remember to specify that in the notes as well, because there's differences now because money. Anyway, so this is kind of compared to the previous 3 games that we've talked about, Papers, Please, Not Tonight, and That's Not My Neighbor. This one is definitely the most involved.
Oh yes.
It's got a lot more breadth and depth to the gameplay, because it's not just simply looking over. It's not just simply looking over documents or anything like that, or stuff like that. It's basically like the theme of this is you are at a checkpoint in this middle of this city that's been devastated by a zombie apocalypse, and you're trying to weed out survivors and people who are infected and stuff through this checkpoint, in order to eventually you'll have all the survivors at the end of the week will be sent off to either a science facility or military facility or whatnot, and kind of weed it out, and you have like quotas at the end of each week for how many survivors you need to get and all that. But and then you're trying to, like, the analytical part of this game is trying to find evidence of a zombie infection on each of these people coming into the checkpoint. And it's very interesting how they go about it, because you have to do like actual examinations of the people. So, and you have a list of a bunch of different symptoms, a bunch of different conditions, and things like that, and whether it's okay, maybe put them in quarantine, or they are infected, get rid of them immediately, which they were just referred to as liquidation, which is great, because for some reason nobody coming to the checkpoint knows about it. They just, hey, that person went over that way, and then we heard a gunshot. It was the wind. But they start off pretty easy. You have just kind of like a physical examination. You're just like a flashlight basically, and you're just looking over whatever you can see, for things like bruising. Look at their eyes. If they have yellow eyes, I think it's like conjunctivitis or whatnot. It's like, it's just malnourishment. It's okay. But if they have like deep red eyes, it's like, oh, they are zombies about to happen. They need to leave now. So there's definitely some elements that where it's like immediate do not pass go. They go to a liquidation immediately. But what's interesting about this game, as opposed to the kind of binary nature of the previous games, it's not just a simple pass or go, or it's not a simple, killer survivor or whatnot. Because you actually get points for how thorough your examination is. So even if they come in and their eyes are completely red, which is an immediate, they have zombie infection, they're going to liquidation, that's very obvious. Even if they have that, still do a thorough examination for zombie bites, for bruising, for whatever other symptoms you can find, because the more symptoms you get, the more thorough an examination you give, the more points you get, which allow you to get upgrades, buy better equipment, all that kind of stuff. Which is it's a very interesting, it's a much thorough, much more involved system than, like I said, the binary just yes or no of the previous games. Which is also interesting because the points is the incentive for getting it correct. Whereas the previous ones, like if you get something wrong, you get a warning. If you keep on getting them wrong, you eventually start losing money and stuff like that. With this, it's not so much an immediate failure type situation, or like a penalty situation. It's just you don't get as much points if you're not correct. But it's very interesting because there's, unlike the other two, there's 3 options for where you can send them. So if they, depending on what their symptoms have, you can, like I said, if they have like zombie bites or the red eyes, or starting off with that, or there's a bunch of other symptoms you can find out about. They're sent to liquidation. If they don't have anything, like they have like conjunctivitis or something like that, where it's just like yellowing of the eyes or whatever, that's just malnourishment. If they have, there's a couple different symptoms that if they have this, it's there, but it's not a threat of anything. You can send them to the survivor block. But then there's some kind of middle ground ones where, as like, if they have this, they might have zombie infection, but it's not necessarily confirmed. They have a third area, which is a quarantine area, where you can lock them in there and just leave them in there for the next day. And the next day, they can either, the zombie infection could come about and they're turned into a zombie in the quarantine area, or they're okay. You can recheck them. If those symptoms are now gone, they're safe to go into the survivor block. So there's it's definitely got a lot more involvement than the previous games. Yeah, it gets kind of crazy. Some of the things you have to look for.
As we would want a zombie apocalypse to do so.
Yeah, that is also true. I mean, but yeah, like eventually you can get better equipment, which also opens up more symptoms that you have to look for. I do think that they have it paced so that the new symptoms don't become present until you're actually able to find them. I don't think they have a situation where there's a symptom that you can't discover. I think that's how they have it set up. But like you can get scanners, you can get like a stethoscope. I think one of the first ones you can get is a thermopulsometer. So you can look at their pulse rate and their body temperature. And if they're too high, that's another sign of zombie infection. There's like eventually you can get a couple of these things. You kind of have to park your brain at the door and just kind of accept that this is how it works. Like, for example, there's a scanner that can allow you to look through certain clothing. Like basically just like outer clothing. So they'll still have their you won't be able to see through their underwear or anything like that. And that's obviously like that's not how something like that would be able to work, but you can kind of forgive it for the sake of the game. Just like, okay, that's, I understand why they need to do this. But yeah, you get that kind of scanner where you can look at underneath their clothes for zombie bites, for bruising, for blood stains, scratches, stuff like that. Eventually you get a stethoscope where you can listen to their lungs and see, like when you bring it up, it'll like actually illuminate their lungs, and sometimes you'll see like black patches in their lungs, and you can have to determine by the sound of their breathing whether it's just a normal sickness or if it's like an infected something zombie infection related, or by the sound of it. Eventually I've seen you can get like x-ray scanners. You can get all kinds of different scanners and stuff to more thoroughly examine the people who come in. And also like some people will come in with backpacks. They have to, you have to look through their backpacks for contraband, which is funny because like one of the things of contraband that they say is like, if they come in with any sort of human limbs, they are immediately liquidated. They're probably zombie infected.
I mean, that feels like a given, but the fact they had to like put like a sign.
Yeah. The fact that has to be like on the warning label, I think is
for the same people who are like, don't use your hairdryer in your bathtub.
Yeah.
Why would people have to write that? Because somebody did it.
Yeah. I mean, one of those warnings is on a Swedish-made chainsaw, something along the lines of, do not attempt to stop blade with hand or genitals. Because someone, I'm sure, tried to. Anyway. So, and it gets very intricate because not only do you have the actual checkpoint gameplay of scanning these of trying to do the diagnostics on all these different people and the security screenings and such, you also have to maintain the checkpoint itself. So you have to, so depending on how many people you have in your survivor block, you have a quota at the end of the week of like how many people you need to send to the military on military convoy to get them to safety, or to the science convoy to do testing on them and stuff like that. So, and each one of those gives you different resources. So if you put a lot of your survivors on the military, I think that gives you more money in general, more resources for base management and stuff like that. But I think it gives you less. It gives. I don't remember exactly like what the resources are, but I think it's like money versus like kind of your points for upgrades and stuff like that. I think I don't remember. But you get different resources depending on where you send the survivors, and you have a quota of survivors you need to reach each time. They do the transport. But there's even within the base, there's a lot of management of that. Like not only do you have like overhead menus for, it's like, oh, we need to make sure that the generators are fueled. So we need to buy fuel for the generators. We need to make sure we have enough food, enough medical supplies for all of our survivors. We need to make sure we have enough tents for all the survivors. And then eventually you can get things like, oh, we get a medical tent that's built so that if we see a new symptom that we don't have on our list, we can strategically sacrifice that person to get, like, they have a little mini game where you have to try to get to a certain organ in the subject in order to analyze it to see if it's an actual new symptom of the zombie apocalypse or zombie plague, which kills the person obviously, but it's for science, for the greater good.
Yes, that's the best way to always
Yeah.
validate those type of things. It's like, hey, there's a bunch of people that's gonna live because you're not.
Pretty much. And it's like, yeah, they just don't put them in the thing, and it's like, okay, so we're going to try to extract both of your lungs. As the person is like, wait, I need those to live. And we're just like, we know.
That's the rumor. Yeah.
We're aware. Yeah. Do you have next of kin? Anyway.
Yeah. We'll name a high school after you. It'll be cool, bro.
Yeah. So yeah, you have that base manage as well. There's also like in between checkpoint shifts or whatnot. There's like sometimes like I've seen relatively early into the game, and there's one segment where it's like you have a quest where like someone is spray painting graffiti on in the base, so you have to try to find the different messages and stuff that they're spray painting and like try to erase them, and then find the person who did it. And there is a little bit of choice that you can have with those kinds of situations as well. So there, and then eventually it's like with attached to the science wing, you actually can basically almost keep zombies as pets. You like can put them into a cage off by the science wing, science tank.
I mean,
use them for experiments and stuff like that. Just to like you observe their behavior, I think is what it is.
I mean, it worked at the end of Shaun of the Dead.
You're not wrong. But like another like part of your duties after that is you have to take bodies from the liquidation area and basically feed them to the zombies to make sure that they stay alive and they don't go feral and
Waste
stuff
not,
like that.
want not. I mean, that tracks.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
It's like Futurama. Well, no good wasting good monkeys' brains.
But so they have all of that for like the base management, in addition to the actual screening. And then in addition to that, every so often, I don't know if it's like a specific number of days you have to in between it, or if it's like a predetermined time during each week or whatever, but you'll occasionally have a tower defense section where all of a sudden the walls of the quarantine zone are about to be attacked by waves of zombies. So you have to jump onto a computer to control these drones that have missiles and Gatling guns and autocannons and stuff like that, and defend the walls. So it overall, I think it's very interesting how it can, because it still fits into that kind of like the checkpoint, that style of gameplay with like Papers, Please and stuff, but it takes it to a much further degree.
Right.
And adds multiple kinds of gameplay to it, while still kind of keeping the core of, okay, we need to screen these people and make sure that they're, instead of it being like we're screening them to see if they are who they are, we're screening them to see if they have this zombie plague, signs of that, and just trying to protect the people that don't have anything, that aren't affected. So it is.
Games like this are a trip, and
Yeah.
you have to kind of, it's almost like the old school, command and conquer games where you have to think fluidly and all these other pieces. And yeah, I mean, isn't that crazy? Where it's like, yeah, you died. Hey, do you want to be zombie poop? No.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
I,
And then of course you have to like defend and all that stuff too.
yeah.
And you gotta worry about it turning into Helm's Deep up in there. So
Yeah.
and it is very, me tinkering with this game. It's very every piece. It's not, and like you said, very involved, but also every piece connects to something else. Like if you do
Yeah.
too much of this, it could affect this, and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. So it has to be kind of this happy balance, in you know infections and military rule. I mean, I'm so glad
Yeah.
they really went for fiction on this. Like, not this shit, because this
Uh,
is not. I mean, the imaginations on these people.
yeah. But yeah, and yeah, like you were saying, there's like the considerations that you have to make. Because like if you put too many people into the quarantine area in the quarantine block, and one of them does and actually have zombie infection, gets turned overnight, everyone in that quarantine block is killed.
Right.
So it's like, okay, you have to try to consider, it's like, okay, again, it's like, okay, if this guy I'm kind of unsure about him, but I already have 4 other people in the quarantine block. This guy is more borderline than the other ones. He's the one most likely to turn, but he hasn't officially turned. Do I want him? Do I want to risk those other 4 people, or just sacrifice this one, uh, to make sure that those ones are okay? And so you have to
Right.
make those kind of decisions. And again, because it's point based rather than just yes or no based, you can make those kinds of decisions. And if you are wrong, you don't gain as many points, but otherwise it still allows you to make those kind of moral decisions,
Yeah.
which I think is nice. The fact that's not binary. And also, I forgot to mention, I forgot to put the video up that I had. I'm showing it now. They have like guest characters that you can come through the checkpoint. Like the guy that's on the screen right now, he's one of the main characters from Plants vs Zombies. He has the pot on his head, and like he just like mumbles the whole time. Uh, like they have a bunch of characters from Dead by Daylight that'll come through. They have some, like, I think popular streamers even that like come through the checkpoint and everything like that.
That's cool.
Oh, so it is interesting to see like who will come through the checkpoint. Like one guy, I think he's a streamer, but he's literally entirely a skeleton. Oh, so yeah, I think he's supposed to immediately be sent to liquidation even though he's not technically a zombie, he's a skeleton. So, but he's undead adjacency, I guess. Uh, but so it is interesting to see the kinds of characters that come through. Um, I do think it's nice how it's paced because it does
Yes.
start you off pretty easily. It's just like you only have to look for a couple things like their temperature, their pulse, their check for scratches or bruises or bite marks, stuff like that. Uh, and that eventually it does ramp up with okay, you need to scan underneath their clothes, you need to do X-ray scans, you need to and then even within that, they have ways of uh, improving the quality of life for those different tools. So like for example with the thermopulsometer, you can upgrade it so that it shows a color. It's like
Right.
if both of them are green, it's okay. It'll show it. So instead of having to go like remember what the number is, go into the menu, look, it's like, okay, is it red, or green, yellow, or red on here? It'll just show it on
Yeah.
the device. So it makes it a lot easier. There's some that have like give audio clues. There's like the scanner, you can increase the radius of the scanner, stuff like that. So they do have those kinds of considerations for the equipment as well, which I think is kind of cool. Just it's not essential, but it does make things a lot easier and a lot faster. So those kinds of upgrades are nice. Oh, excuse me. And then you have the, like I said, the base management and upgrading the different things there. Like yeah, like on the screen right now, apparently you put two people in quarantine, and one of them turned in the middle of the night, killed the other person. Uh, so in order to clear quarantine, you just incinerate everything in there. Uh, so it's interesting. Like I said, like this person immediately that just came in, they they are going to liquidation immediately because you can see on their face they have a bite mark. But again,
I mean, it could
it's
be 50 Shades of Grey up in there. You don't know.
yeah, but and then like they'll another thing that I think they did really well is they'll have certain cues for you to check on things. So like for example, if they have a cough or something like that, it's like as soon as they walk in, they like if they'll have a condition where their jaw is slack. That means it's like okay, you need to check their reflexes. Oh, that's an indicator for that. Uh, you know, so it gives you these subtle clues as to like what they might have and to check on these things. Uh, I think it's very well done in just the visual language of scanning these people. How it gives you those subtle clues. Uh, I like the fact that again, it's not binary. It's not yes or no. They're zombie or not. There is levels of uh, choices to make. So I think it's definitely worth a playthrough. And like the previous games for the part-time gamer aspect of it, it gives you off ramps every day. Like going through one day is maybe 15 minutes depending on how complex it is throughout, like what kind of events you have going on throughout that day. But overall it gives you a lot of off ramps to take a break, to be able to pause, come back later and stuff and continue on. So for the part-time gamer aspect of it, I think it's really good for that as well. Each individual scan is pretty quick. Uh, I mean, and yeah, the $20 price tag is not too bad if you just want to buy it outright, and if you don't, it's on Game Pass. So I've
Yep.
actually been considering playing it myself after watching a couple other people play it. But currently, my hyper focus is on Resident Evil 9, so we'll see how that goes.
Another zombie game.
Yeah, indeed. Uh, but so and like also eventually you get quests and stuff like that, or a little challenge, or like you have to try to find a certain person, and it's like if this person comes around, regardless of what your scan says, put them into the quarantine area. You know, you'll get things like that, and you'll get these little quests that give you extra funds and stuff like that. Um, but overall, I think it's a really well done game. I think it's a really good kind of evolution of that kind of genre of the
Yeah.
checkpoint, uh, deduction, whatnot kind of genre.
Yeah.
Like
Very
right now,
immersive, like very role play kind of centric, where you have to. I mean, it's not the kind where you're like sweating to death like I was like Silent Hill, but it
yeah,
is very much like every action will coincide to another action that could give off like a consequence where it's like,
yeah.
yeah, you have to do this, you have to do that, and it all kind of interplays together. But yeah, anytime you take someone's lungs and you're like nonchalant, it's like, God, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, zombie apocalypse, it's a lot of survival. So, I mean, yeah, but it is kind of distressing to a degree how nonchalant they are about just like, yeah, we need to just take this organ from you, and yeah, you're gonna die, but it's so that we might be able to find another symptom that we thought that that you had. Uh, and sometimes you think you'll see something, and it turns out to be nothing. That has happened a lot too. So you're just like, yeah, we just killed that person for basically no reason. Uh, oh
Can we
well.
put the lungs back?
Yeah, but they're not gonna work.
Yeah.
Uh, but anyway.
At that point, just getting the lung back is like the lower end of a huge list.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, but yeah, it's overall it's definitely I think a really good advancement in the genre, and it it's definitely worth a shot. Definitely worth a playthrough if
Absolutely.
you're especially if you're a fan of this kind of game. And it's on Game Pass, like I said, so it's not too crazy to be able to get a hold of it. Uh, all right. Was there anything else you wanted to mention about it?
No, I had a good time with it, and what's so great about these kind of genres that we covered just as the month is it's it's a different type of mechanic. You know,
Yeah,
things can be entertaining and intelligible and teaching to people with games in any way, shape, or form. And growing up in a time where it's like, well, no, it's just supposed to be a side scroller, and you fast forward 40 years, and it's like, wait, you mean to tell me I can get like stress, sweaty palms on my game controller
oh yeah,
from checking like an ID? And it's like, well, yeah, because it's one thing of a bigger thing.
yeah,
So I think that's always great about finding some of these type of games, these particular genres and mechanics that come into play, not just the typical button mashing, where you have to execute at such a certain level, and you got to definitely think about it.
yeah.
So that's always nice. I mean, come on, we were literally just talking about Resident Evil. You say zombie apocalypse, and I'm like, where? I'll bring the keg.
Yeah.
So this is definitely in my space. So um, yeah, it is definitely worth a look see, and it's a good time.
Yeah, and it's nice that it's a zombie game that isn't necessarily super scary.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the zombie aspect is less about the fear aspect and more about just kind of the setting.
yeah,
Um, so I think that's kind of nice as well because a lot of zombie games are intentionally scary. Go figure.
yes.
Uh, but yeah,
That's
so
weird.
yeah, yeah, strange.
Now, if they made a
Um,
Golden Girl games and that shit was scary, it's like sign me up.
yeah. Uh, so we got a little bit of time, so I'm going to do a quick ad, and then we'll go to our water cooler talk. So be right back. All right. Is the ad
Yeah, it was
ready?
a
There
good
we go.
one. Definitely
Uh,
in line with zombies.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, I thought this one was a pretty good progression of
Yeah,
the genre. Um,
That's
one of
what's
the
nice
reasons.
about that kind of stuff too. Like you said, like the expectation is it's going to be, with a lot of those kind of points set where it's like, well, it's going to be this, and it's like, oh, it doesn't have to be. Like you can play. That's the beauty of like art, like kind of getting away with it, where you have a genre and you can kind of play with it, not just zombie shoot, zombie shoot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely got a lot of breadth to it. But yeah. So in other zombie news, yeah, like I said, I'm on my second playthrough of Resident Evil 9 now. Uh,
Sorry, I'm gonna keep making that noise.
I'm not surprised. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, I got through the first playthrough, and I do think it's kind of funny the fact that I died significantly more playing as Leon than I did as Grace. Uh, I think part of it was because like, oh yeah, Leon, I'm just fighting the zombies and everything, and it's like, oh, blister heads can kill you instantly.
Yep.
Awesome.
They didn't
I
put
got
that on the box.
yeah, I got killed by so many freaking blister heads. Like they
Oh yeah.
insta kill you, and it's like, wait a minute,
Yep.
I had like literally on Leon, I had full armor and full health, and they do their stupid insta kill move and kill me immediately. It's like,
Done. Yep.
what's the point? And those things are freaking bullet
Somebody
sponges.
programming that thing was like probably overworked, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna have fun with this. I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Well, and also the other thing is on Leon, I don't think I parried enough. Oh, cause I would just go shotgun pretty much all the way. So you'd think close range shotgun would be good, but it's like nope, just pull out the axe, parry them a couple times, and then you can
Yep.
insta kill them. So it's
Yeah.
I definitely
Resident
like
Evil's always been weird that way though, because there are some particular games like throughout the entire franchise where it's a little more suited. I mean, you can take them out with just about anything, but you'll learn there is kind of construct of like, oh, yeah, I can take them out with this, but if they move this way, then I should be using this instead or something else.
yeah
And of course, the only way to really learn this is dying a bunch of times.
yeah yeah. But yeah, like I realized a little too late. It's like wait, I can parry their attack and then counter attack, and then I can save a bunch of ammo for later. Well, like with Leon, ammo is not as big of an issue because he can buy ammo and craft it and everything like that. But with Grace, it's a lot more scarce, especially now because right now I'm just playing on casual mode to get through this because I'm trying to do there's the challenges you can do to unlock a bunch of different bonuses and stuff like that, and I'm trying to do simultaneously the no healing and the no crafting on Grace run on casual mode. It's surprisingly difficult. It is challenging because like okay, uh I have the only ammo I have is what I find on the map. I cannot craft
Yep.
any of it. The healing is less of an issue because on casual mode it brings you back up to a certain level, like the mid-level health. Oh,
Yeah.
so that's not as much of an issue. But yeah, the no crafting is like, okay, so I guess I'm knifing this guy. So, but I'm slowly making my way through casual mode to get this,
even
and then
even the early Resident Evils are like that. Again,
yeah,
like you kind of find yourself like, I should be able to use this, and it doesn't really work that way. And then there's times, and it's like, I mean, even early on with like the zombie dogs, it's like, knife, really?
yeah, yeah. All right. Anyways, our ad is up, so we can go ahead, come back, and yeah, we're going to be. We got. I wanted to pick something lighthearted for our topic, for our water cooler talk, because there's a lot of garbage.
Ubisoft's going
offline.
out of business.
Uh, there was actually one about like Splinter Cell, but I opted for something else. But anyways, yeah, let's go ahead and get into our water cooler talk.
You get that thing I sent you?
Yeah.
So, as we know, I'm a big Slay the Spire fan. I bought Slay the Spire 2 almost immediately, even if it's early access, and been playing it quite a bit lately as well. But yeah, the article that we have today is talking about how Slay the Spire is pretty much dominating the genre. The headline: analysts say Slay the Spire 2 is the best performing deck builder of all time, and the competition isn't close. So it basically just goes through the sheer numbers of people who have been playing these kinds of games, especially Slay the Spire 2. Uh, like in the second paragraph of the article, Steam peak concurrent users, while a flawed metric for a game's ongoing health, provide the clearest image of how Slay the Spire 2 is separate from other card game heavy hitters by orders of magnitude. Balatro peaked at 44,000 concurrent users in January 2025, Slay the Spire 1 at 57,000 in December 2025, and Monster Train 2 at 18,500 shortly after its May 2025 launch. 3 days after its early access launch, Slay the Spire 2 peaked at 575,000 concurrent players. That is more than 13 times Balatro's peak.
That's insane.
And this is for a $25 paid early access with no console version. It said Megacrit confirmed 3 million copies sold in the first week. So yeah, Slay the Spire 2 is a thing. And they go into why they think the sequel, why so many people are in Slay the Spire 2, and like the fact that it hasn't had anything really for like 7 years. Oh, and there's just that level of anticipation of a sequel. Oh, I mean, and again, this is a game. The original Slay the Spire is one of the few games that I have more than 100 hours on in multiple locations. In fact, I think on my Steam account, Slay the Spire has over 200 hours, and I think I have just about that much on my phone on the mobile version as well.
Wow.
Which, mind you, there's no cross saves between those. So these are two completely separate games, two separate instances of this, and I've gotten like over 200 hours on both of them. That's how much of an impact this game has, and the sequel somehow makes it better. Again, I think I've phrased it. They didn't reinvent the wheel, but they gave it a mini bar and laser beams.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Hell, I want to be on that wheel.
Yeah. So I'm super excited about the fact that they're doing so well, especially since they at least seem to be pretty humble about it still. There's
Right.
like they did not anticipate this much success this quickly.
Right. Isn't that nice when that happens though? When you just make the designers, the creators, the artists, they make something good and they know how to stand by it, and they just let. I mean, that's how it's supposed to work, but sometimes it doesn't. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, but
yeah.
I think of also in the range of like Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
13 years.
Yeah.
Between the two, and the character's been introduced into other games, and there's like other offshoots. I can't remember if it's Image or what, but somebody I think does like a comic book of them of the character.
Yeah.
In kind of these what if scenarios, if you will. But like the actual game, like continuing, you're talking about like 13, 14 years after the fact. And what was so crazy is like for those who knew or know, it was like picking up right where we left off, but it was also like, well, yeah, we've been here and we weren't pushing you, but we're glad you made it. Like the character even ended up on Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
So yeah, when it came around and everybody played it, and then all of a sudden had to stand back and call their friends and go, hey, so in the middle of this game, there's a musical number. This thing isn't broken, right? The shit's supposed to be doing that.
The musical numbers that they have in Alan Wake 2, I like unironically think are amazing.
They really are. And it's not just something for like a niche, like, hey, we can do this in. It's like a full band, and it's
Yeah,
done at like an actual, expert professional level of music
yeah,
and orchestra. And yeah, I'm like, I looked at my bottle of lithium. I'm like, oh yeah, I took my pills today. This
yeah,
is happening in the game.
yep. Yeah, that's another really really good game. Um,
Yeah, where just once the sequel comes around, we'll be here for it.
yeah,
And I know, I mean, I hadn't looked at the numbers recently, but the numbers as far as like sold and played were definitely in the green. Where they were like, yeah, we waited so long, we weren't sure, because there's always that trepidation where it's like, your audience cooled off while you were
yeah,
still in the kitchen. But I was one of those. As soon as I found out, I saw the first trailer, I was like, okay, two things. One, finally. Two, yeah, this was long enough to where I need my next colonoscopy exam, but it's cool.
yeah,
I'll go play the game too.
yeah. But yeah, like back to Slay the Spire 2 is like I don't know if I said in pre-show or during the show, uh, Resident Evil 9 is pretty high up there. It's pretty likely to be the game of the year this year. And but the reason why I think I agree with that is because Slay the Spire 2 isn't set to be released this year. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, yeah, it's an amazing game. And
Oh yeah,
I
and
find
it
it
still got the love.
yeah, I find it very endearing that they like did not expect it to be this successful. Um, but yeah, it's killing it out there.
Well, it's always a wag. I mean, it's always throwing sunshine up in the air, and hopefully it'll stick because there are games that cost obviously insane amounts of money.
Oh yeah.
Spider-Man 3, the next one, the projection. I roll. Yeah, I was just reading about it. I'm like, did I read 400 million? Because there's a
Yeah.
new movie coming out too, and yeah, that's expensive for insane reasons. But
Yeah.
it's like
Well,
the game is like double. And the
yeah.
first game was like somewhere in like 80, 90. Second game, 2, 3. But now we're like 400 million. And yes,
Yeah.
it is Spider-Man. The first two games are freaking awesome. I love the second game very, very much. Came with the PS5. But having said that, you're like, how do you justify that even as a success?
Yeah.
That's why for so many games they throw that much money at that end up being failures. And then you have smaller games done forensically focused in such a way to where, okay, we know we got people waiting, but we're our own deadline because we know we want the finished product to look a certain way. And
Yep.
those are the ones that end up working out the best. And even if they don't really get their following right away, it's always great when it's kind of that grassroots word of mouth where it's like, hey, you play this game? That's how Doom was for me. Somebody handed me a floppy disk. I'm like, I sell war games. This is bad. And they're like, no, it's a game, silly. Go play it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Those are the fun moments. Those are the ones you remember because you have that. It wasn't what people hit you over the head with. You went and you were like, I found this. Like somebody helped me
Yeah.
find this. Sure, but like this arrived to me in such a way that it's memorable. And that's why, I mean, that's probably a big reason why I still love the Doom games as much as I do. But a lot of these games that are smaller, they find their audience somewhere along the way. It's the
Yeah.
$400 million one where people get disappointed in 20 minutes, turn to somebody and go, I paid how much for what?
Yeah. I mean, and that's
Yeah.
also the thing, like especially with you get these like I actually recently saw a post from Jason Schreier on Blue Sky about like
Mhm.
where budgets actually are going to in game
Right.
development, and there's a lot of horrible mismanagement. Go figure.
I'm not
Uh,
surprised.
but he also said like a lot of it actually does go to like developers. It's
Right.
like there's a lot of overhead and everything that they need to cover. Uh, so there's the vast majority of it does go towards that, but it's like at the same time, it's like you get
Yeah.
like you said these like $400 million projects, and it's like if it doesn't sell like 5 million copies in the first week, it's deemed a failure.
Hmm.
Because it's
And
like,
even with DLCs coming and all these changes, I mean, look at
yeah,
Cyberpunk.
yeah. I mean, and it's because of these like outrageous uh budgets. They're just like,
Yeah.
okay, we need to hit this amount, which is insane, just these absolutely insane amounts, or the game's a failure. And if it's a
Well,
live service
especially with
game, it's like,
right.
okay, we're just gonna pull the plug.
Yeah. That's and it's insane also to kind of, connect to that point where even with a name, when it's like, oh, this is finally coming out, or off of some franchise that's very popular, like a lot of DC. And I had to explain to a couple people because they were like, wow, that Suicide Squad was terrible. I'm like, if you get the chance, Sherman, go sit in the Wayback Machine and go take a look at about 10, 15 years ago when they were killing it with Batman Arkham games. And
Oh yeah,
they were like insanely owning the landscape. And it wasn't a little bit of just, oh, yeah, well, I might buy it, whatever. That was one of the few left that I recall where people were still outside a GameStop
oh yeah,
and and not like trying to and not like being inside to try to navigate out the door waiting at 11 p.m. with like, yep, I got my credit card, I can't wait to buy this
yeah,
$80 game and pay 17% interest. Woo-hoo.
yeah.
But
I mean, and that it actually reminds me of like, because I've seen like graphical comparisons between the Arkham games and Suicide Squad, and how the Suicide Squad is a massive downgrade
mhm,
from a lot of the graphical capabilities of these older games. And people have been like, I've seen comparisons of as like of not just video games but also movies and stuff, where they'll show the effects of a movie that was from 20 years ago, and they look like, take for example the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I mean, the graphics, the effects that they have in those movies are absolutely insane.
mhm,
They are incredibly detailed. They're incredibly realistic. They look so good. And then people look at things like look at graphics from, uh, or look at effects from like a modern Marvel movie, and they're just like, how can
yeah,
they spend this much money and not have it look good? And it's not a factor of it is a factor of one thing, and it's not talent, it's not money, it's time.
yep,
It does not matter how good or how well paid someone is. If you want a good product, they need time.
yes,
And when you're trying to crank out 3 games or 3 movies in a year,
yeah,
you're gonna be able to tell.
yeah. You're gonna push a limit that you really don't have any force to get behind. It's kind of like Justice League, where they decided to release it pretty much as finished as it could be, just so some people could get their bonuses. But
Yeah,
it's also that kind of just homogenized where it's like you don't have craftsmen for this stuff anymore because people have no time.
yeah,
In most cases, it's just get it out, just get it out. I mean, and funny enough, I was watching 1 and 2 today of the Pirates of the Caribbean, and especially Davy Jones.
yeah,
Holy heck, that is that is literally art. That's
yeah,
cinema
yeah,
done at a level where you're like, and you can't help but to like how did we go backwards? Even like Jurassic Park movies or Jurassic World
oh yeah,
movies, where you're like, okay, Steven did it fine the first time. Well, now we have to make like 30 dinosaurs. I'm like, really? Because he had like 10 and he kicked ass.
yeah, yeah. It's just factors of time. It's a factor
Yeah.
of like, we need to get this out as quickly as possible, and but there's still ways of doing that. But most of them
Yes.
involve having an art style,
Yes.
not striving for photorealism. Oh,
Yes.
you know, oftentimes I find, as long as the art style is consistent, it's okay. It doesn't have to be
Yes.
photorealistic. As long as it's consistent, as long as it has its own visual language, that's good.
Yes.
That's good enough. You don't have to strive for photorealism. Uh, But
Yeah,
yeah,
the Arkham
anyway.
game's perfect example because the visually, like, just so immersive. Not just
Yeah.
the designs, but like the level of detail. Like, there's one, cutscene, and they show like, and I love that version of the Scarecrow with like the syringes in the hands. Like, it looks
Yeah.
bananas. And then they get really close to like his hands with um the tubing for the poison, and you can literally see the liquid, and you can see the
Yeah.
valves on the hand, and you're like, that somebody. You look at that and you go, somebody cared.
Yeah.
And in the case of like Suicide Squad, they really tried to homogenize it where it's like, hey, these characters look cool, but it's these characters, and we're not going to really stick to a style. We're going to just
Yeah.
make it look blah there. And it's like, I'd rather you take the time to, take like Joe Quesada's artwork or Jim Lee, like make something specific, but also like intelligible to where
Yeah.
it's like, this is the world. Yeah, it's not photorealistic, but it's immersive. This is something you're going to be kind of taken into.
Yeah.
Arkham's did it, like, I mean, beyond. And it's funny because I remember, real quick, people were waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, is the third game going to be shit? Because the first two was amazing. Like, the quality's
Yeah.
got to go down. And it's like, nope.
So yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. And like, again, with like, let's Slay the Spire. I mean, you compare the art style of Slay the Spire to a lot of other games, it doesn't seem as sophisticated, uh, but it is a very consistent style, and like
Yes.
everything that they show fits in the world that they're in the visual
Yeah.
language that they are making. Um,
Yep.
and the
Yeah.
gameplay is just great. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that suspension of disbelief, and it's funny because if the art intrigues you, you're gonna buy it, and
yeah,
it's a video game. But to like the look, ugh, it means so much. Being such a, I mean, obviously a very visual medium, but
yeah,
yeah, that just makes me sad. I'm gonna go eat a bucket of Haagen Dazs.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
They had one job.
All right. Anyways, um, yeah, I think that's a good place to land the plane. So, yeah,
Meow.
everyone, yeah, everyone, thank you for joining us. We have not decided on a new theme for next month, but we also are not going to be having a show recording live for the next 2 weeks. Next weekend, next Sunday is Easter, so and I have plans, and so we're just going to be taking Easter off, and then the following weekend I'm going to be out of town, having the closest thing to a vacation that I've had in over a decade. So we won't be having a show for the next 2 weeks. During that time, I will figure out a new theme, and we'll figure out games on that theme for the rest of the month. But yeah, so yeah, that's yeah.
Safe travels, happy vacation, get lost,
Yeah.
get drunk.
I hope so. It's going to be basically me and my friends going up to a cabin about like 6 hours north of here. It's me and
Hey,
like
don't watch the Evil
five.
Dead movies first.
Yeah,
Actually, you know
well,
what? Maybe watch them first. It might be like survival reels.
yeah, but I'm going to be taking a bunch of these board games behind me, and we're going to be playing that basically for like 3 days straight. So it's just going to be us playing games for that entire time, which is great. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, we're not going to be having a show for the next 2 weeks because of those reasons. But anyways, everyone, thank you for listening. If you like what you've heard and you'd like to help us out, a few ways you can do that are by giving us a review over on Apple Podcast. You can follow my Twitch channel for the live recordings starting 9:15 Eastern Time on Sunday nights. Or you can follow my YouTube channels for the VODs that come shortly after the recording's done. Or you can leave us a tip over on our Ko-fi. If you'd like to contact us, you can with our email, parttimegamers.cast@gmail.com, or you can join our Discord channel. We have a couple different channels in there, a couple different things, that subjects and all that jazz, and words coming out of my mouth properly. Yeah. Anyways, you can find the show and links to everything around it using the link bit.ly/CI Productions. I'll take you to my website where you can get all the links you need. And also you can do exclamation point links in. That's right. Exclamation point links in our Twitch and brings up all these links as well. You can find Ember's work at 9of12.com, NINEOF12.com. People, the words coming out of my mouth properly. Theo, where can people find you around the internet? That's preferably safe for work.
That's like the best auctioneer impression I've ever heard. I can be found here. Well, not for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think I finally got kind of where I want to go for next podcast, and it's also nice to be able to have a steady paycheck again, because apparently those matter to actually have equipment so I can do that. So, and I know I've said it before, but more to follow.
Yep. All right, everyone. Until next time, we are the Part-Time Gamers clocking out.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.